Hey everybody, back as promised. The other day I did a video on why it's important for emergency lesson plans, and I talked about a template that I've kind of created talking to substitutes and what I've kind of used in general. So some of this takes a little bit of pre-organization in an emergency substitute lesson plan. Some of it is just so you have it all ready to go. And then some of it is literally fill in as you go once you're organized. And we'll talk about organization and weekly calendars in another time. But this is the template that I've used, that I've asked for feedback from substitutes. It has been kind of a hit. I will actually put it in my TPT store for free. I'll also put it on my website for free because I do actually think in this market right now where teachers are valuable, substitutes are valuable, and we need our mental health breaks, whatever we can do to assist our colleagues that come in and step in while we're out with loved ones or just need a mental health for a day. So you'll see those dropped in both those stores here soon. So in this template, make sure you do a quick thank you. Obviously have your name, the room number, the subject you're teaching. So this portion right here will change, obviously, because in my case, I was an ELA teacher, so mine will say like ELA piece right there. Make sure you have a quick note, a thank you. A little bit of gratitude goes a long way. Remember, sometimes if it's a last minute sub request, like that morning, somebody picked up your job or your colleagues picked up the job, it's just a little bit of the thank yous just kind of goes a long way. Make sure at some point you have either an emergency sub plan where you keep a special one in a binder or you keep your regular one sitting, and we'll talk about seating charts at another time because you just kind of want to be prepared. When in my classroom, I actually always put my seating charts in different organizer files so the sub could pull it out by each period. So it was kind of an easy location for me to manage, and I didn't have to keep multiple seating charts available. What are your rules of the classroom? Nothing is more frustrating for a sub to come in and students are using their cell phones and they're not sure if that's okay or if they're being taken advantage of because they're not actually technically the teacher of record, right? Restroom usage. Do you let students go? Is there a time cap? I always kept a time cap on the bathroom. I told my kids they needed to be in and out in 2 minutes because there was a bathroom next to my classroom, so that they weren't lollygagging. And what are the consequences for that? Do this their name, go on a special chart for when they're checking in and out. Do you allow group work, or is it an individual activity that you're having them do that particular day? Because again, and I've stepped in some classes myself where, they raise their hand and are like, well, Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so says we can work in groups. Well, if that's not what you want, make sure you specify that right away on the rules of the classroom. And then as much as we don't want to admit it, we do need to make sure we have any important numbers to call if there's an emergency, like something turns off, somebody is not listening during the class time, whatever the case may be. In our school itself, you just dial 0 and it goes straight to 5 different desks, but it may not be so simple at your school. So kind of just write in there how they're going to get a hold of somebody in the event that there's an emergency or they need to get in contact with somebody. All right, now to the meat and potatoes of the lesson plan. So obviously here I did one for ELA. This can be changed for what your periods are. In our case, we have 7 periods. I did create this as a mock-up as of 6 periods. So basically in our school district, we teach 5 and then we have 1 period as a prep. So have your roll in attendance ready to go. Like obviously you want them to do that. What is the activity? Did you anticipate any questions that might come along with that activity? Like, little Johnny Jump Up's going to ask something. So make sure you're prepared for that so that the sub's prepared for that. So now you're not getting a bunch of texts or emails or phone calls or, Johnny Jump Up's mom's calling later about how somebody they didn't tell the directions, that kind of thing. And you might want to include any accommodations for anybody in the class that might have IEPs or might be English learners so that the sub kind of knows what's happening. How long do you want this activity to take? If it's going to take a 5-minute activity, like you've given multiple activities and one should take 5 minutes, specify they only have 5 minutes because as a sub, they're going to want to time that and say, okay, 5 minutes and only 5 minutes, and then we're going to stop and change direction. When is the activity due? It's always a question students ask anytime I step in the classroom, and I'm in classrooms quite a bit with the sub shortage. So when is it due, and how will it be collected? Is it going to be turned in digitally, or is it going to be physically hand turned in? What is the final product that's going to happen? Leaving a section right underneath that period for anything that they need, that the sub needs to tell you, like, hey, I got here late and this happened, or Sally got called out, so she might need to be caught up. This can be made bigger for the sub, but it is a space for them to generally talk about the period itself. I threw in here a prep period just so that the sub knows. Then again, the same thing repeated for English 3, period 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's the same thing. Under each section, there is a section that talks about notes or information that's needed to know. Was somebody disruptive? You know, did somebody get sent out? Did somebody get called out? These are important notes for you to leave, for the sub to leave for you. So when you come back in, it's kind of a seamless transition back into the classroom. And then finally, was there any noteworthy students? I found that when students were recognized for being awesome, positivity bred positivity. So anytime I said, man, so-and-so was awesome in the classes I've subbed in, or if a sub recognized a student, I made sure to make it a point of recognizing that student too for good behavior. Because then if I have to be out again, then they're ready to go. I do have a place for the guest teacher there, just in case you need to get in contact with them, or if they're phenomenal and you want to use them again, like, you know, your child, or you have a dentist appointment and you need somebody to cover. And also their contact information, just in case you need to follow up with anything. I've had the best luck with like having email, like if I have any follow-up questions, then I can get it in control. Or if they really liked your classroom, they're volunteering to come back because you have yourself set up and ready to go. And again, this has been taken mostly from my experience and then talking to some other subs from covering classes, because there's definitely classes I enjoy subbing for, and there's definitely classes I don't enjoy subbing for. And we all know those ones. So I hope this helps. I hope you find it useful. If there's anything you want to add, drop a comment or send me a message, and then I can kind of look in through it and add to it and make it larger, because you know what? We all have to be in this battle together to make sure we take care of each other for our substitutes and our own classroom teachers itself. So again, I hope you found this helpful, and you will find this in all places so that you can borrow it, use it, put it up, make sure you get it ready to go so you're ready to go in your classroom. So happy Wednesday. I hope all is well, and we'll talk to you soon.